while we were on the scripts, I was gonna ask because one area I know, most people try to address concerns or objections that might come up earlier in the process rather than trying to address it at the end. And so one of those I was curious about is just how people are talking about, because I'm still working on it, just the time frame of the program. A lot of people come in with hopes, I'll say, that the money's gonna be, right away, more transactional. But as we all know, the program is more programmatic, 6 months or 12 months. And so I was just kind of curious because yesterday was really good with different ways of phrasing how we do what we do. And I just was curious how some people are speaking to that aspect of the program.
Great question. Let's get some feedback. Anybody want to give some of their thoughts on that?
I mean, I could say something, Tom.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could, if I could speak to directly what Kavika was saying, but what came to my mind while Jimmy was talking was building a rapport, but knowing the craft of what you're doing and knowing the craft of what LenCred have to offer to your clients. The more you know, the better you know, the easier it is to come across to explain it, and then the more trustworthy you seem to your client. And then to speak to somebody like a Sean Morey, you also need to know like what he does, how good he is, or even a Dustin and a Jack, so so forth to say. So I think personally, get to knowing these people on your team is very important, so you could instill into the client how to trust that if I say something, then you trust and believe that what I'm telling you is gold. It's just a little easier for the process for your client to go through. I hope that helps.
That's a very, very intuitive little girl.
That's funny. That is hilarious.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Sorry. Yeah, sure. Sorry.
She is adorable to look at.
Yeah, he is adorable.
Oh my God.
You got to add a little humor in this thing, guys. You're way too serious here. Good job, Camille. Thank you for adding that. That's awesome. That's awesome. I got a comment with respect to what Kavika says, and it's again one of the nice things about playing the role of the advocate, the concierge, is you don't have to be the expert. A lot of those objections that you'll get, a lot of those questions that you get, you can deflect. You can deflect in the ACE method. I mean, you don't need to be a know-it-all. And you can deflect by saying, what I would like to do with that particular question is address it in my notes and send it over to the senior business strategist as they're building their strategies. I want to make sure that they address that concern, make sure that they address that challenge, and you'll see the experts going to come back with some amazing technology that are going to address that tenfold. And I think you'll be very, very happy with what you see, and then you can identify the SBS team. But you don't have to answer them all. Again, stay in that role. What is your job? Your job is to get to know the person, to find out every single thing about them, to put together a compelling story so that they get the benefit of having a custom strategic plan designed for them. That is your role. So, my answer would be you don't have to address all of the objections with an answer. Does that help, Kavika?
And Kavika, on that note too, are you kind of, if I go a little bit further, are you kind of also referencing maybe more specifically some of those clients whose time frame to their PG funding might be further out as to how to speak to those timelines?
Yeah. And so I think earlier on, I wasn't really wasn't speaking to the time frame. And so that was a key objection as far as converting CSPs to sales. One of the primary objections that I was not overcoming was the time frame. And so now I'm trying to speak to it earlier on, rather than again trying to address it, at the CSP or after you're done with the CSP and then they're saying, hey, I thought I was going to get money, within 30 days and I can't wait 12 months or whatever it is. So I'm working on different ways of speaking to the time frame of the plan, and just was again, a lot of people on this call have been doing it maybe a little longer and are better at it. So I was curious just what some of that language might be, if anybody has something that's been helpful or useful around that particular aspect of the program.
I think that's good. Let me do this. Barbara and Michael, maybe I can tap into you guys real quick. So when you have a prospect who this is prior to the CSP call, and when you have one of those prospects that's perhaps a lower LC 2020 offer where the PG funding and the CSP, isn't real sexy and high and juicy, from appearances perspective. What's something that you are doing or have done or that you purposely do to help kind of prepare that prospect for it? And maybe, I don't like using the term soften the blow, but preparing them for the fact that what they should already know, but the fact that maybe they're not going to get a lot of money really fast. Barbara and Michael, what are you doing, to kind of move those people through the funnel and help with this question Kavika's asking?
I personally always let the customer, I let the 850 credit score that I know is going to get 50 to 75 right out of the gate. I let them know this is a process. The fact that we're going to develop a conservative estimate and give you a plan, a written plan for success doesn't negate the fact that it requires you to work at this. And you came to me for a reason. We're this far for a reason. And yes, I can get success early, but I will get more success the harder you participate. So if you don't see the results that you wanted in that first 6 months, and maybe 10,000 shows that it might happen in the third phase, well, guess what? If you're doing what we're asking you to do, you might get that 10,000 in the second phase. I'm not making you a promise. I'm telling you, if you put forth the effort, you could in fact see better results than what I've laid out here. This is meant to be conservative, right? Because I know what we're capable of. I don't know what you're capable of. If you'll participate and take the advice of our advisors and your teammates, then you're going to see better results sooner.
So I like that. Before I come to you, Barbara, I want to kind of recap that. So I think what, and this will be my language and not Michael's, but I like that because I think what Michael's saying is, in essence, hey, Mrs. Prospect, let me ask you a silly question, but do you think you're going to get the most money and get the best terms and get that money the fastest if we do everything and you do nothing? Or do you think you have a better chance of getting more money, getting lower cost money, and getting better terms on that if we put a plan together where we somewhat work on this together? And then that helps them to kind of an obvious, right, question that helps them to answer the question in a way. So I think Michael is saying that in addressing that with a prospect who he's going to have a follow-up CSP call with, the next day or whatever, I think part of what he's saying is I do that by helping them understand that their participation and their engagement is what helps all of us get what they're calling and asking about. Is that fair, Michael?
Yeah, I just want to add one other thing. I also say, hey, there's been a couple issues that have led you to this point, and I need to address those issues, or we need to address those issues. I can't fix overnight the damage that's already done, but if you'll work with us and give me the right opportunity and do your part, then we can turn it around faster and we can exceed the results that I estimate.
And that's another great point. I'm coming to you, Barbara, I promise, right? That's another great point because well, think about it. Think about if you take that time, Kavika, and obviously it's for everybody. If you take that time and say, again, kind of as a follow-up to that, participatory and, plans tend to always have the best yield. One other thing, Mrs. Jones, one other thing, Mr. Prospect, I see here on your credit report, you've got a couple of really good things that are going to help us. And I see one or two things here. Can I just ask you real quick in 1 minute before we move on? Is it fair to assume that you're fully aware of these two collection accounts that I see, from ABC and XYZ company? I don't need the full story on them, but you're in the loop and aware of them being, in the mix here, correct? Yeah, okay. Well, okay, obviously, would you want me to ignore that and cross our fingers and hope that nobody sees it? Or would it also make more sense for us to address that as we put together a game plan for you to kind of succeed and to be in a position to get lower cost financing? You kind of want to ask the question that is hard for them to say no to, right? And I would weave in something like we're in essence trained, one of my favorite, blurbs, we're in essence always trained to help you get the most money and as much money at the lowest terms possible based on your qualifications. So if we can address that in putting something together for you, then that would be in your benefit, you would agree, right? And so then you're kind of planting those seeds ahead of time, but you're getting them to join you in, nodding their head like this and saying, yes, yes, yes. Barbara, how about you? What are you doing to help move those kinds of people along in the process?
Wow, I was thinking about so much stuff while we were talking about this, so many different conversations I've had with people. So, I mentioned before how important the reviewing and looking at their FPN prior to your conversation, so you can kind of know where they've had problems before and where they stand. And I try to relate to folks with talking about, you remember when you first started getting your personal credit yourself? You didn't go from having no credit to access to $100,000 or whatever their access is overnight. It was a process that you had to go through to build up to where you are today. And so I talk about relating to, I may use some examples like, if you build a house, you got that house in mind, the end result, and you have a time frame, you want the house to be built, but as the architects and the builders structure your plans, things might happen. There may be a tornado that comes through, there may be more rain, but the goal is there, but you still have to be patient and participate and understand that your participation and your patience in getting this done is really important to the end result. So I try to talk to folks about, relating their real life situation to, here we are, you're coming now with needing some help building up some business credit and getting access to money that you don't have on the business side of the fence. And we've used some professional strategists that would cost you thousands of dollars to map out this plan of action for you that we really need your help with, because we're doing it for you. So I try to give folks a realistic approach to, this is not going to happen overnight. This is why you see targets and strategies here and phases, because that's what it takes to get to the end result, with you, riding the train and participating along with it. I mean, that's a little something that I might say, to get folks to understand that this is not going to be a snap your fingers and here you go.
So can you hear me?
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, Tom.
Yeah, he's fading in now. I think Tom got dropped. He's coming back in, guys. I want him to have him address that. Good stuff. Any questions for Bob or Barbara while we're waiting for Tom to come back on?
So was the real question, how do you address with the client the time frame and how this should, how long this should take? when people ask you that question, I try to relate back to, so a little bit of reality that
Yeah.
it does require your participation. We do strategize this out for you. There's phases, there's targets. You can get through your phases a lot quicker if you're involved in participating. Sometimes things might come up that slows things down, so I try to let them know that this is going to be a step-by-step process to get you the results that you're seeing here.